Have you ever broken a rule and wondered what the punishment would be? A fine. Maybe some community service. Maybe a short prison sentence if it was serious. Now imagine living in a world where stealing food carried the same punishment as murder. Where a judge could sentence you to be locked inside a metal bull and roasted alive. Where your screams came out the other end, sounding like music to the crowd watching outside. That was not a nightmare. That was Tuesday in ancient Greece. Ancient humans did not just invent language, fire, and civilization. They invented punishments so extreme, so creative, and so completely without mercy that the entire world eventually looked at them and agreed. Never again. Let's start with the Brazen Bull. In ancient Greece, a bronze worker named Perilos built a hollow statue in the shape of a bull. The inside was empty. The door was in the side. The idea was simple. You put a person inside, you lock the door, you light a fire underneath, the metal heats up like an oven, the person inside roasts alive. But that was not even the most disturbing part. The screams came out sounding exactly like a bull bellowing. The crowd standing outside did not hear a person dying, they heard music. Perios brought his invention to the tyrant Phalaris as a gift. Phalaris was so impressed he decided to test it immediately. On Perios. The man who built it was the first person to die inside it. That is ancient justice. Now think about ancient Persia. If the Brazen Bull was brutal, what the Persians invented was something worse. Because it was slower. It was called Scaphism, or simply the boats. The condemned was placed inside two hollow wooden boats fitted together like a shell. Their head, hands and feet stuck out from the holes in the sides. They were then force-fed a mixture of milk and honey. More was poured all over their face and skin. Then they were left floating on a pond in the open sun. The milk and honey rotted in the heat. Insects arrived, flies laid eggs directly into the exposed flesh. The person could not move, could not escape, could not even die quickly. Some accounts suggest victims survived this way for weeks. The Persians were not trying to kill quickly. They were trying to make death feel like a relief. Now think about Rome. Rome looked at execution and saw an opportunity, not just for punishment, for entertainment. Criminals, prisoners and slaves were thrown into arenas in front of crowds of tens of thousands. Lions, bears, leopards. The crowd watched, cheered and brought their children. This was called damnatio ad bestias, condemnation to the beasts. It ran for centuries. Generation after generation attended. Families treated it like a day out. Nobody thought there was anything wrong with it. It was only when Rome changed its official religion that the games were finally banned. The scariest punishments in history are never the ones that felt evil to the people using them. They are always the ones that felt completely normal. Now think about China. If Rome wanted a spectacle, China wanted something quieter and far longer. It was called Lingchi, death by 1,000 cuts. A trained executioner would use a blade to methodically remove small pieces of the body. Slowly, deliberately. The goal was not to kill quickly. The goal was to keep the person alive and conscious for as long as possible. This punishment was not used for a year or a decade. It was used for nearly 1,000 years, from the 900s all the way to 1905 when it was finally banned. 10 centuries, generation after generation looked at it and said, yes, this is acceptable. This is fair. It took until the modern world for anyone to say otherwise. And finally, Rome again. Because Rome had one more punishment that may be the strangest of all. It was called poena culi, the penalty of the sack. If you killed a member of your own family in ancient Rome, you were not simply executed. You were sewn alive into a large leather sack together with 4 animals: a dog, a snake, a monkey, and a rooster. The sack was thrown into a river or the sea. Rome chose those specific animals deliberately. Each one represented a different form of moral failure. Together they meant one thing. You are no longer human. You do not deserve a human death. You are being removed from existence entirely. Here is what every single one of these punishments has in common. None of the people who invented them thought they were monsters. They thought they were reasonable. They thought they were protecting their society one by one, century by century. The world looked back and said, We should not have done that. Which means the only real question left is this. What are we doing right now that people 1,000 years from now will look back at and say exactly the same thing?